5:32. And shall we begin with the public hearing?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to let you guys go.
Sure.
As you know, we completed in August of this last year the Plants House rehabilitation. I don't know if, I know you have seen it. It came out beautiful. It's 11 units of permanently affordable housing in Putney. You were gracious enough to sponsor a $300,000 Vermont Community Development Program grant application for us, and our project completed successfully, beautifully. We have 2 accessible units in the structure and 2 adaptable units, and it is fully occupied.
It's fully occupied.
And operating fantastically. It has a wood pellet system in it. It's incredibly efficient. All new windows with the exception of the 13 historic windows on the front of the building. It's extremely tight. We expect low energy costs. There's domestic hot water, solar on the roof to assist in our energy costs. So it's a beautiful property. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I loved it. I
Looks great.
I was there, I went through it, and I was really impressed.
Great.
Fully occupied?
Yeah.
And waiting list? How, like,
Oh, that's a good question. I suspect that there is a small waiting list because there were some people that, when we first leased up, were just
Wanting to
beyond.
be on.
They were number 12 and 13 or 14, so there were a few. So I suspect there's a small waiting list. We don't typically advertise unless
You
we.
have space, right.
But people word of mouth, if they hear about it, they might call and they might fill out an application and get on a list.
yeah.
But I didn't check on that before I left.
And feel free, if you ever have inquiries through the town office, to refer them either through
Yeah.
the website or by phone to our
Absolutely.
office.
Yep.
Yeah.
The only question I have is, I know that there was a question about the lighting being so bright.
Oh.
Did that ever get
Right.
addressed?
Yeah, we
or-
were working on resolving
okay.
that, to putting lower wattage bulbs in the lighting, and as far as I know, we haven't heard back
Oh.
yet. I did hear that as well.
Somebody else has to make that decision, is that right? Or you haven't heard back what? Oh, the
I
bulbs
haven't
got
heard back-
changed?
I haven't heard back from any resident, any neighbors indicating that it was still a problem.
So they have been changed?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
okay,
So
yeah.
after the change.
That's what I just missed.
I don't
Yeah.
know that the change was satisfactory to them. I'm assuming it is, because we did not receive any communication from the neighbors about it. So,
Interesting, yeah.
I think the hanging lights are out, but they've got
Yeah.
front lamps.
yes.
So I think those hanging lamps were
Yep.
a bit
Ones
too
on the
bright.
The ones on the,
Yeah.
In the porch.
So
is
they're more
where I-
decorative.
Yeah.
They're more decorative at this
Yeah.
point,
Yeah,
instead of functional.
which is probably okay.
I think it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
I was kind of curious, how many of do you know how many of the previous residents, before the renovation, ended up back in?
Very few.
I thought 5.
Oh, there were as
I
many
could be
as
wrong.
5?
I could be wrong, but I thought 4 or 5
4 or
came out.
5, yeah.
And they had first dibs, so to
Yeah.
speak?
Oh,
or whatever.
definitely.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Some chose not to,
Yeah.
some
Okay.
were for various reasons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anybody that we relocate, it's understood that they would return unless they choose not to.
Great. It's going to be quite a difference for them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
big time.
Yeah.
Is there anything on my end that I have to do after we have this public hearing?
I just need your minutes.
Okay.
So when the minutes are approved, and I figured.
We don't need a motion or anything to close it out or anything like that?
Just no.
Just that we had the public
Motion to adjourn
hearing.
your hearing, that's
Yeah,
it.
okay, yeah.
But I figured I could just grab them off your website.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we do put them up there.
I know you
in a
do.
timely
I
fashion.
know you do. I know you do, but it also gives me an excuse to call.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. We can do that.
All right, well,
Sounds good.
that's it. Well, thanks very much.
This
Yeah.
was
Very
wonderful.
welcome.
Great.
It's
Great
very
addition.
Great to
Great.
see you.
glad to be here.
And I will add, it may have been on the agenda, but we decided to postpone doing a presentation on the new project that we are
Oh, is that right?
conceptualizing. We have met with the Affordable Housing Committee. We're going to be meeting again. I realized it felt a little early, but we will be back. And we also want to meet with the DRB, sort of an early meeting with the DRB, just to run the concept by them.
I think we actually have an Affordable Housing Committee meeting scheduled February
Yeah, February 1st.
something. February 1st?
I think it is the first, and I'll
Okay.
plan to be there,
Okay.
assuming they want somebody from the Housing Trust, but,
I think.
I would guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Proposed
I think
agenda,
they do, and
we're-
we have somebody, a new person that's being appointed, hopefully tonight, to the committee, so I'm pretty sure they do. They were pretty excited about it, and just so you know, the DRB meets the third Tuesday of every month, but they don't meet unless they have something on. So
how much in advance would you need?
it would be nice if it was like 15 days.
15
Yeah,
days.
just to
Okay.
make sure everybody can come.
All right,
And
so,
is it okay to have them assemble a meeting when we, just to,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's sort of a pre-submission
Yeah,
meeting. Yeah,
to talk about-
to talk about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
You mean if they aren't otherwise meeting?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine with me.
Okay.
No, we have one coming. We have one.
DRB, are you?
The February meeting is for somebody to do that,
Okay.
just to come in and talk about a subdivision that they're not sure they want.
so you do have a February
Yeah, I believe we are having a February one.
meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
Good?
Great,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate
it.
Yeah, we really
For
appreciate your
finding the
support.
time, Yeah.
Yeah.
Told you that would be quick. I'll tell Peter we're not going on Friday. I told him we were,
Oh, okay.
and now I'll
Thank you.
tell him that we aren't. I can't either. I have to leave early that day, so.
Thank
See
you.
ya.
Mike.
See ya.
All right, take care. All right. Any adjustments to the agenda?
We do have one item. The listers are requesting an extension for the filing of the grand list, and they need your approval, so we're gonna add that to the agenda.
Okay.
And you can put it in whenever you want. I would assume we'll let John go first before we do that, but
Right.
he's been here quite a while today.
Thank you. You bet. All right, then we'll just get through this quickly. The acceptance of minutes of both December 16th and the 31st.
So moved.
I'll have to abstain from the 31st.
Yep, I'll second both of those dates.
All right. Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, new business. Start with the audit.
Thank you for,
And this is John.
John
Mudgett.
Mudgett, Jeanette Crow Wisner.
Here, these are the
Thank you
findings
for
that we just got today.
inviting me to your meeting tonight. And I do apologize that we gave you a draft over a month ago, and then we didn't actually get around to writing the findings until Cynthia and I got back together today. So we had kind of a late printing of that this afternoon. And I think we
Did you
can.
get your copy?
Yes, I do,
Okay.
I have it right here. And I think I would point out that those could still be edited, or management responses added to those. So, none of this is quite in final form yet, but we think it's pretty close. I know that Cynthia has had a chance to review the adjustments that we proposed during the audit and the financial statements and notes, which you have a copy of dated December 4th. And I'm not sure if you've had those well in advance of the meeting, and maybe you haven't had a chance to read through or absorb what's in there. Is that, have I got that right?
That would be.
They've had them.
They've had- Oh, okay, there you go. I would just say that the auditor's reports on the financial statements are unqualified. Basically, we had a few proposed adjustments, not a great deal, but that has as much to do with being here relatively early in the summer, doing most of the work, while some of the adjustments are still being developed, both by management and by ourselves. Now, there is one fairly significant change to well, there are a couple of changes to the financial statements this year that make them look a little different than in prior years. One is the addition of supplementary schedules for the library. You may have noticed those. The other one has to do with the adoption of new pension reporting standards. So you do have a fairly lengthy note at the end of the notes, note 9, relating to pension plans, and now it includes about a page and a half of disclosures relating to the
What page is that, John?
town's participation in VEMRs. It begins on page 30 and runs through page 31. And that is a fairly significant change to the accounting standard. What it does is it requires reporting not only in the notes, but also up on the face of the statements, on the balance sheet for the government-wide financial statements, the very first financial statement. You will see additional reporting of things like the net pension liability, which is to say everybody, every town or school or government that participates in the Vermont Municipal Employees Retirement System has been allocated their share of the liability for the pension plan. And there are also things called deferred outflows of resources and deferred inflows of resources on that balance sheet now, which relate to the pension plan. Basically, I'll try to give you the quick explanation. When they value the pension plan, it's done a year ago. That the actuaries are giving them information as of June 30, 14, and the state then is allocating it among the participants based on that date. So any, like the money that you put into the plan this year, or the 2015 year, is a deferred charge as far as they're concerned. And then there are deferred credits or deferred inflows that relate to investment revenue and changes in assumptions. So it makes it quite a bit more complicated. The bottom line is it affects your balance sheet government-wide, but it really doesn't affect your fund financial statements. So your budgeting and the actual town operation should continue as is. And I will not read through that 2-page note.
Thank you.
I would point out that I think the actual requirements would have made it a 3 or 4 page note, but what I did in there, I took artistic license and I referred to the state's reports and the actuarial reports for people who wanted more in-depth information as to the assumptions that go into developing those numbers. So anyway, I'm not sure if I'll get slapped on the wrist by our peer reviewers for not writing a longer footnote, but this first year I've decided I'm going to condense it and to try to make it as understandable as I can. In future years, you may have longer notes if we're required to include more of those pieces of information. That's it for the big changes. The auditor's report on the financial statements, as I say, is an unqualified report. You guys are doing a good job. You've got folks here that are keeping track of the money coming in, going out, getting things recorded, for the most part, quite well. The findings that we wrote and included, and you have them tonight, relate primarily, or at least there are 3 of them, and they relate first of all to reporting of IRS information in the first one, and an update on the dog license reporting in the second finding. And the third finding is a carry forward that's pretty much unchanged, relating to the identification of restrictions on cemetery fund money. I can go over those in more detail. I think you know pretty much what's going on with a penalty notice that the town received from the IRS for failing to file some reports.
The only thing they don't know is that we did get the notification today in the mail that we do not owe that. It was abated.
And
I was gonna give the good news, but
No,
she jumped
no,
right into that.
no.
she can't help herself.
Okay, all right.
We'll go directly to commercial break.
Yes, there you go.
Don,
there
I
you
need
go.
a little of the glory.
Okay, jump on it, jump on it. Yeah, I think,
That made me not sleep at night sometimes.
I understand.
So do we know what, and this is unrelated to you, John, but do we know what any further, was that elimination of everything related to it? It doesn't sound like it.
Well, it was.
Did eventually result in the penalty being removed.
It was the elimination of the penalty for that particular notice of the W-2 forms for 2011.
And we're not liable for interest or anything, so.
No.
So that's gone.
That's gone. It
Okay,
says zero
great.
on the
State
report.
tax liabilities or anything
Good.
of that nature?
Well, there's still some other unresolved.
IRS.
State of Vermont, did that not?
I
go
don't,
out?
I don't know that those are resolved. I'll have to ask her about that one. I'm not sure we wrote that one in, John. In the state of Vermont, there was a withholding penalty, or there was a penalty.
I think last year we were writing about dog fees.
Yep,
This year we were writing about IRS amounts.
yeah.
There's kind of a global issue there
Yes.
of making sure that reports are being filed in a timely manner, and that there is a set of controls or oversight to know what reporting has to be done and to understand what deadlines need to be met. And I was talking with Cynthia about that this afternoon. I'm not sure she wants to assume responsibility for all of that, but we did talk about how there should be a second
Secondary.
set of
Yeah.
eyes, perhaps a log of target dates, of deadlines, and then a review person making sure that those are met, and it's also assuming responsibility for making sure it happens.
Well, and we can, as a management response, it can be a management response from you guys as a board, especially related to.
Requesting.
Yeah, you know, one of the things we talked about today with Anita was that, you know, there was discussion of someone else opening the mail because the IRS notices I don't see.
Yeah.
So we didn't really push it too much, but you know, we haven't responded to that particular finding yet
Right.
as an entity and as management of that. So there is that.
And do you know, John, in a situation like this, or Cynthia, who the management response we can request of our town clerk, but we can't do much more than that things are done differently. If she wants to continue to do it the way she's been doing it, she has the right to do that, correct?
I would differ from that slightly from a practical standpoint as much as anything. I think the select board has an overriding responsibility for compliance with laws and regulations the town is subject to.
Okay.
And you clearly have a town manager that you can delegate things like that to. While the clerk treasurer, those are elected positions.
Right.
But they are also town employee positions.
Right.
So I think you do have authority to request or suggest or implement procedures, policies that would
That allow for that to be.
that would correct the situation. Yeah.
And that would presumably ring true for the dog licenses as well.
I think that's true universally in
Yeah.
towns. I think the select board has an executive role that I doubt would be challenged.
Yeah. No, I don't think we would be challenged.
Yeah.
It's
I don't
sort of
mean
a matter of-
internally, but.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I think
Yeah.
globally, as I understand, when I read the law, and I'm no lawyer, but when I read it, I see a structure being created in Vermont that gives the select board substantial authority and responsibility. And then you have others who have also responsibilities, but it's kind of an internal control structure designed to make sure that things are administered and managed properly.
So we will work with our town manager to come up with
Yeah.
an appropriate management.
The other,
Plan for
so there is, I mean, you'll see it when you read the dog license one, there is a little bit of lag time again on current stuff.
Right. No.
So, you know, I'm worried about that, but, so those are those two findings. The cemetery one, my management response is gonna be a little bit different than what's here, which was what we had agreed on last year. But I think that, I need to start working on it myself. So, I know that they've tried to get together and do some things, but it's just, it's not working at
We
this
need to
point,
get it
so,
done.
yeah. So I'm gonna have a different response than that. I'll let you guys approve it or not approve it, and, I might change that a little bit.
And do we have to run those responses by you ultimately, or not really?
No, they're management responses. We read them. If we find them to be incompatible,
Right.
then we might come back and suggest a
address
change.
it,
But
yeah.
that's by and large what we do with anything that management writes, whether it be a response to a finding or the management discussion and analysis in the front of the financials. We edit, and we try to make sure it reads well and is compatible, but we don't change what you tell us.
Yeah, I mean, as far as being finance director, my goal is to have no findings next year, to have these cleared up. The two that are still on there from last year, I was hoping to give a chance to, you know, for people to, so I'll be a little bit more forceful about those two. The IRS stuff, I mean, I have the power of attorney, I've been in contact with the IRS office, so I feel like there may even be a way for me to get a copy of notices too, now that
I would like to say there is,
yeah,
although I'm not sure.
yeah, okay. I don't know.
IRS has been difficult, I think, in getting movement on things this year. I'm not sure if that's just a staffing issue with them. I know I've been told by IRS folks in Vermont that staffing is below normal levels in Vermont in most of the offices. I think Brattleboro may be better than most. In Montpelier, we were down to 1, and then for a while we were at 0, and so there was really nobody to talk to. Right. And on the bigger perspective, notices were coming in that said, we need more time to review this situation. And she showed me a couple of those that you received today, but I've seen several of those on other issues as well. It's just taking a long time to resolve issues.
So if you guys don't have any more, I need to sign
Do you
this
need
one.
a motion or not?
It's the approval of the financial statements and reports, and you guys need to sign it,
So,
so.
yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the financial statements and reports for the town of Putney for the year of 2015.
Second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So I'll get a copy of this stuff out, I'll
You can
scan it
set that
tomorrow.
up, and management representation letter would be good also.
Yeah, that's in the office.
And then we use those dates to date the reports, so. Yes, you will, of course, we'll have the drafts resolved, and you'll probably want a final draft before we final, or no? Yeah, okay.
I'm good.
All right, sounds good. Works for me.
And I will send you our highway, I'll just send you a electronic copy of the trial balance of the new highway fund.
That would be good.
Would that be
We'll
better?
compare it to what we have now, and also include a chart of accounts at some point.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
that way that'll be ready for next year. Okay.
Is that?
We pass it.
Oh.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you
very
again.
much.
Always nice to come to Putney.
Glad to have you.
Before you set that down, let me just grab this. Thanks.
I don't know if you want to take Kathleen's.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
This is the. That's what it is. She can explain what's going
I
on.
was just gonna say, Windham and Windsor, honey, that was what she was mentioning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll be
Okay,
back
so,
with another
yeah,
meeting.
So that's good, okay. Okay, so listers. Kathleen?
Okay, this is this is a request for filing an extension for the final 411 for the 2015 grand list year. Current use values are not completed yet. Normally, they are completed by December. But this year.
And those are you guys doing those or the state doing
the
those?
state doing
So
them.
this is just an unavoidable,
Right. What happened basically was when current use was examined by the legislature, they stopped a lot of stuff going on in current use. And then, since everything was on hold, a lot of things ended up in the queue. So it backed them up. So they're basically trying to still make their December deadline, but they're just not, they didn't make it yet. And so they're playing catch up. But it isn't on our end, it's on their end. And so we're basically lobbying back and forth with them now with information, which is normally done in October and November. And so now, because there was a backup, there was a lag in the flow of paperwork being done in current use on the state level. And so now they're catching up. Because they had the easy out thing happen too. The easy out option came out of the legislature examining current use.
And how long is that extension? Is that a month?
so for the final filing for current use has not been finalized, it requires extra time. Our expectation is that this will be completed by February 15th.
Right.
So your expectation is that you'll have the current use numbers by the 15th, or you'll have them and will have
As soon
been
as
able
we
to
have them,
put
we're
them-
gonna be
feed
able
them
to
in.
do the 411.
Okay.
And the 411, the final 411 affects the education funds. So, honestly, it's possible that we'll have it tomorrow. I just don't know when we're gonna have it, and our deadline
Yeah.
is Friday, and today is Wednesday.
Right.
So I'm here because
You'd rather have this.
I would rather have it on time. They're not gonna give me a headache if it's not, but I don't want it to be 2 weeks late. And this will kind of ensure that I'll get it tomorrow. So,
So I'll make a motion that we accept the lister's request for an extension for filing for the final 411 of the 2015 grand list.
I'll second that.
All right. Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Do you need Steve's signature on that?
Yeah, I think so.
yes, I do. So there are no more questions on this? You understand it's the state just trying to make their
Just what it is.
December deadline?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, great. And I'll get it from you guys tomorrow.
You can get it right now if you want.
Okay, sure. Even better.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Okay, Affordable Housing Committee appointment.
So there should be a letter in there from Katie Bowen requesting to be appointed to the Affordable Housing Committee. No, I told her it was not absolutely necessary that she come tonight, so I didn't think you guys would have.
Did you have a sense of did she have a particular interest?
Just wanted to be part of it. I think she's talked to a couple of people on the committee, and they were looking for new people that hadn't been involved with it before, and she wanted to be a part of it.
How many people are on that committee? Or roughly?
10-ish,
10-ish.
Yeah.
8, 10, something like that.
Yeah. Was there one person that wasn't coming back?
Jim Martin resigned and then
Right.
Eva was appointed.
appointed.
But she had previously been.
Right.
And then Francis was not available at the last, but he was informed at the last meeting, but he is willing to continue being on the committee. So, otherwise, I think it's pretty much the same as it has been. I'll make a motion that we approve appointment of Katie Bowen for the Affordable Housing Committee.
Second that.
All right. No further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yep.
What was I gonna say?
PACIF insurance agreements.
I got, so Steve, you weren't at the meeting where we approved the changing of our current coverage over to PACIF at the LCT. So we didn't have the paperwork at the time to sign. It was just kind of approving what they had proposed. So this information is all of the required membership agreements and consent to rate applications and all of that stuff that need to be signed. So we just need a motion to approve, and I guess you could say this is the,
I'll make a motion that we approve membership agreements and consent to rate application and disclosure statement. And are we
and it has to be.
signifying you as the
There's some that,
signator?
there's a couple I need to sign, and there's one that Steve needs to sign as board chair.
Great. And say that again, this is for what again? The rate?
There's membership agreement is the one that you need to
Right,
sign.
yep.
There's a consent to rate form.
Oh,
Or
gotcha.
consent, yeah. And then it's, the other one is talking about what things for workers' comp need to be covered, which is our volunteer, we don't have police officers, so that's not covered. Firefighters, yes. We don't have rescue, so.
Police officer, because it's contracted,
Right.
so that's not.
Right, and rescue because it's contracted.
Right.
Even though we have first responders, they're covered under firefighters.
Okay.
And then the consent to rate. Which this doesn't need to be signed by you, but this is what that one is.
So this is really,
It's just the formal
the
paperwork.
contract. Yeah,
Paperwork
gotcha,
in order
gotcha,
to,
okay.
yeah.
All right, you second, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay, all in favor?
So this is the one
Aye.
you
Aye.
need to
Mhm.
sign. That one I think I can sign.
Okay. Now, out of curiosity, if I remember correctly, there was something in there about, what was it again?
eminent domain or the 10 million.
Sovereign
dollar-
immunity.
Oh, sovereign immunity.
Yeah.
right, not
So, well, yeah, there was
eminent
that, which I think I kind of ended up finally understanding.
Yeah.
But that, there was a question that we were gonna look into about that, right?
Yeah, I talked to them about that, and they do have the ability to use that. But what they said they've used it for in the past with some of their members is, let's say there's a pothole that the town doesn't know about, and haven't even had the opportunity to fix it. But if it's a clear liability, a clear negligent issue, which the example that was given to me at the time was we hit somebody with a snowplow, then they don't use it just for everything, just to
Gotcha.
get out of claims.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but the ability is there.
Right.
So that was one question. The other one I think we were asking them about was what would grants be? Remember we were talking about
Grants,
grant money.
right.
The best example I got was helping us install some security equipment
Right.
in different locations. That would be grant eligible. And then there's when actually we've already been contacted. Wade's coming down to start his assessment. Wade Mashore is their risk management
Right.
person. Tom's gonna have him at the fire station, so, we're starting to do that stuff
Right.
already.
I guess it's not as, well, perhaps, wasn't there also something about, they will offer insurance to people who rent?
Yes.
Is that something that we, let the public know is available? How, I mean, I'm sorry.
Well, I
how
think
did
it
we
was
know
if
that
they
it
were
was?
gonna be using one of our buildings, was that what it was? I can't remember exactly what it was.
Public buildings?
Yeah.
I think it was
It was to help.
if we were renting a
Right.
public building,
Right.
then we have coverage for that.
Right.
Oh, so we can let them know at that.
Well,
time.
I think what it was, the example I was thinking of was the shelter, the
Right.
building out here. Was it if they needed help getting insurance to
Okay.
cover them, liability insurance to cover their organization while renting on our property,
Mhm.
that they could go through that.
Right, that's, okay,
Yeah.
great.
So they wouldn't be on our insurance, but they have the ability to purchase through
Right,
them, which would have been really helpful for that type of
right,
project.
right. And they would find that out at that time and they wouldn't
Right.
renting something, right, okay, great.
Yep.
All right. And the town meeting, the draft of the town meeting warning.
So we can't approve this tonight because there's still some possibility, I believe, that other articles could be added.
Because
But
there's still a few
yeah.
days, right? Yeah.
But I just wanted to run through it just in case anybody thought I missed something, or the town, go ahead.
Go ahead, finish.
The town will be first
Right.
on the agenda this year. So the two first articles are the basic ones of the voting of elected officials. And then Article 3 is to see if the town will accept the report of the last town meeting. That's basically the minutes of the last town meeting. Article 4 is changed a little bit from last year. What we used to say here was to accept the reports of the town officers, I think. And I've been working with the attorney at the league on, where's the warning in this?
Back page.
Thank you. It used to say, to see if the town will accept the auditor's report. And basically, I think every year we kind of stumbled over that because we weren't really we had a one-pager report in there that came from the auditor that doesn't satisfy anything that we're obligated to tell people.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, Article 4 is taking place of that article, and it's to hear and act upon the reports of the town officers. So it's to discuss everything that's in this book.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody has any questions for people that wrote articles, this is where we would do it. It's really not voting on it, it's just this is our opportunity to discuss it. So that's a little different from last year.
But then we do vote on it or
No,
not?
there's no vote.
Oh, okay.
No, there is no legal obligation to accept this. Actually, there's no legal obligation to even produce this town report. The only legal obligation is to produce an auditor's financial
It
report.
sort of seems logical that that would come under transacting any other town business, but
Well, I think it's because a lot of what we do is in this book. You want to make sure you talk, if there's any mistakes or you talk
Okay.
about what's in the book
Mhm.
first.
okay.
Yeah.
Now, will there be ample time to explain this?
We have all day there, Steve.
Yeah. Well, I'm just wondering too, is if even somehow prior or some kind of an insert when the report comes out of that change so that people realize that that opportunity will be there.
Or even something, have you submitted for publication the report yet or not? Because
No,
it could be noted in there that,
that this is a change.
This is
Yeah.
a change.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do that.
Because I'm sure there's going to be lots of questions.
what
Well,
that,
I
what
mean,
that
and-
means.
And I think that when
Yeah.
we talk about that, I will do exactly what I just did,
Yeah.
explain
Yeah.
that, I mean, there are some things that are not quite right on this warning that I'm trying to clean it up a little bit to make sure. That was one of them.
Okay. Yep.
So, but we can put something in there. I can do it on my one pager too that I put out that explains some budget numbers and that kind of thing. Okay. Article 5, I have no idea if we want this one on there or not. This is to re-examine the vote that we took a few years ago about exempting property taxes on alternative energy sources. I put it on here because I need to have a conversation with Doug Lay at the state to get
To
it
see
really
whether anything
clear
has
in our
changed.
head what it is we're voting on when we do that, and then when we vote on it, how do we actually administer it? Because there has been a lot of confusion around that. Right now, any solar array in town is not being taxed. And I don't think that was what people thought they were voting on a couple years ago. I think that they felt they were voting on if it was being used for personal use,
Right.
that's what we were voting on, but if people were making money off of it, those were not included. I don't exactly remember the discussion, but I think that was the gist of it. But that is not how we're actually administering it. All of them are exempt right now, based on this statute and what we were told by the state as to the way to administer it.
Yeah, that's funny, because I thought if it was not larger than
Right.
whatever
It was
yeah,
the size,
but
yeah.
then
Yeah.
I was thinking it would be
Which
taxed,
would, right,
or that was the
indicate
recommendation.
something that was more properly oriented.
Yeah.
We talked to the town
yeah.
attorney about it at the tax exempt committee meeting, and he suggested that we get a statement from the state, Doug Lay, as to how.
Okay.
I think we need to know how to administer it if it passes, and then work back from there to understand if we really want to do this year. It's going to be difficult to get that determination, I think, but I'm going to try.
Right.
Sounds good.
So that one may or may not stay on there. That'll be up to you guys once I find that information out. Article 6, to see if the town will vote to provide notice of availability of the auditor's annual report by publication in the newspaper of record, all public posting locations, and the municipal website at least 30 days before the annual meeting in lieu of mailing or otherwise distributing the report to the voters.
Which we don't do anyway.
Well, this is where we had some confusion, and this is one of the things we're trying to clean up to make sure we're in compliance. This report has always been considered the annual report, the town report. This is what we have always thought we are legally obligated to send out by a certain time frame. So when I started reading about it this year, I asked everybody, who do we mail this to? Because the law says that the auditor's annual report has to be mailed to every legal voter, registered voter. That's not what we do. We mail it, we have a mailing list. If people want to be on it, they can be on it. So I was worried we were not in compliance. Denise and I have been talking about it back and forth. She was worried we're not in compliance. So when I looked into it and talked to the league, what we are legally obligated to mail to every voter is the audited financial report, which would be what we get from John. That includes all of the things that we are legally obligated to tell people. All of the stuff that's in here, other than the warning, we are not legally obligated to produce. So we can keep doing what we do with this. Just do it like we always have. This is what people like. And if you want to be on it, you can ask to have it mailed to you. We do not want to mail that financial report to every voter.
No.
So voting on that we will provide notice via newspaper posting and on our website 30 days prior,
Gives us an out from
that covers us legally.
for
For the decision,
Yes.
Okay.
decision that essentially we currently take by providing it.
Yeah, we don't
Electronically
provide
or-
notice that it's ready though.
Right,
That's
exactly.
the
Right.
problem.
Or providing it to be in compliance.
So I kept it vague as to what newspaper it was and what public posting locations in case in a few years the newspaper changes. Then we don't have to go back and vote on a specific newspaper. So that's what that's about. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Wow, I can't believe I actually got that. We've been talking about it for days and we were all very confused about what we had to do. The next one is electing the trustees of the library. That's-
Presumably, they're gonna move a slate.
Yes, yeah. To
I'm
see
sorry, you
if,
said what? Maybe not.
The library will
Oh, I see.
tell
Yeah.
us their
Okay,
nominations.
okay, that's right, yep.
Move a slate.
Article 8, to see if the town will vote to approve the sewer budget as outlined in the report. Do I
Yeah,
have the wrong date?
yeah, that's what I was gonna ask about
Okay.
when we first. I'm assuming it shouldn't be the 2014 town report.
No.
It is the 2015 report,
It'll be the 2015, this is the 2014 report,
and that's last year's.
so this will be the,
So
yeah.
that's the one that finishes, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Article 9, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to borrow an amount not to exceed 30,000 to purchase a truck for the fire department. This would be the truck that the fire chief uses.
Do we need to be more specific about the fact that it's the truck that the fire, that the fire chief uses?
We can. I just didn't know what, should I say truck for,
I don't
I
know
don't know, I
whether, I don't know
agree.
whether we need to or not, it's,
Someone will ask.
exactly,
Yeah.
so if we.
should I say
just
for
make
the
it
fire department to be used by the fire chief? Or just for the fire, I mean, I don't wanna say for the fire chief because that sounds,
Well, would that truck be available?
A small
to
utility, I
others
mean, it's a
if
small
necessary?
utility truck for the fire department. You know, I mean, the fact that it's used by the chief, but it's also available for use.
Or maybe,
Presumably.
I mean, we don't
You know,
specify when we buy for the highway department, but I know what you're saying, it's gonna come
Yeah.
up, so we might as well put it in the
that's what
article.
that's what I'm wondering. I mean,
How
you
can
know,
we
a,
anticipate that?
first response vehicle for the fire chief, not for the fire chief.
No, we can just be right up front with it and say, look, we're, providing a vehicle for the chief instead of him providing his own vehicle.
Yeah, no, I have no problem
It's
with
just
that.
the wording of
Right,
it.
exactly, how to word it in here so that it
I'll come up
is
with
sort of
something.
clear that we learned not approving this tonight anyway.
Yeah,
As I say, keep it simple in here and answer the question when it arises.
I can see how people would be like, oh, you tried to get.
Okay, no, sure.
That would be my concern, is that it
We'll,
sounds
we'll,
like
I'll
we're
make
just trying to slide
it,
it
I'll
back.
make
Just
it
no-
more clear. Then Article 10, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to borrow an amount not to exceed 100,000 to purchase a dump truck for the highway department to be repaid over a period of not more than 5 years.
Who's that dump truck for?
Cynthia.
It's for you, Joe.
To see if the town, Article 11 is the SEVEDS article, to see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of 8,106 for SEVEDS for economic development within the Windham County region.
And I know we sort of have talked about this, but I don't know whether at some point, is this gonna not be an article on its own? I mean, does it become a line item, or?
I
I understand the logic of
I do.
having it as an article each year. I guess it depends on,
I mean, we don't do it for other ones, but this is a significant amount of money.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
agree. I mean, maybe when we're in year 10 and they're fully established, et cetera, then it
Then it
becomes a
goes
line
away,
item
yeah.
or something,
then
I
it
don't know.
definitely
But
could, yeah.
Do we have a sense of what other towns around us are paying? in this?
Around the same, I know
It's
what,
yeah, I mean, and just.
It's per
be prepared to
capita.
answer.
Right.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
We have a
I think Westminster was asked for like
That's sensible answer of how
9,000,
that
so they're a
figures.
little bit more,
reached.
yeah.
So,
It's
per
pretty
capita.
hefty
Yeah.
it's a chunk of money,
compared to the assessments we get for other types of per capita,
yeah.
yeah.
But,
But, I mean, I support
the
it,
hope
but I
and
do
assumption
see-
is that it pays back
Yeah.
over the long term, one way or the other.
Article 12, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of whatever the number is gonna be, to defray its expenses and liabilities for the town general fund. And then Article 13 will be the highway fund separate, so that'll be new. That'll be something people are not used to. We have not had anybody come forward that said they were going to request an article. I had someone at the holiday party ask me what the date was for putting in a request, but I haven't heard from them, so we'll just have to wait and see. I think this actually will not be, I think it's the last week in January that we approve this, because there's some time frame to.
If you haven't already, you might want our moderator to just have a look at this. Get a copy to her.
Yep. Okay, is there any questions about what I have so far? I don't think I've missed any. We don't have any tax exempt question this year. All of the properties that currently have a tax exemption are not due for revote this year, so there's none of that.
And I see there's recognition of who the important select board members are.
There's a second page.
Misstated as
We don't have the
positions.
second
Seating arrangement.
No, I get a page of my own.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, boy.
So that's the warning.
When is the last day people can submit?
I can't remember the
Not that I'm
date.
gonna say
I
that.
wonder why January 25th is sticking in my head, but
There,
For
January
articles.
19th is sometimes.
Okay.
I don't have
Okay.
to look at the calendar, I can't remember.
just because it's stuck there, doesn't mean that's.
Oh, yeah, and I don't know whether you were going to mention this somewhere else, but there is that candidates forum tomorrow night, is that correct?
Yes.
No.
Well, they will-
I'm embarrassed to say, but nobody's told me about the candidates forum.
I heard that it was going to be
Have you, Laura?
tomorrow
I
night,
saw
but
something
I
on
did,
the
I
board,
saw-
but I
Did you get asked
There
to
was
put
a
it on
small article in
iPad?
the paper.
I didn't see it on
Read
our
it
copy
yesterday's
today.
paper.
and Denise mentioned it to me the other day.
Yeah, I'm not around tomorrow night, I didn't even know about it, so.
And there's a school board meeting tomorrow too.
I know, no, I'm home with the kids because they're at the school board meeting, so see what happens.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all right. Budget time.
hoping we can get some of this stuff approved. The water fund budget is in your packet of information. And keep in mind with both the water and sewer budget, even though there's an increase in both of them, because of the work that's been done as far as adding ERUs to people that should have it, taking away all of the different work that we've done, doing that look through every account, based on current billings that we've had after that work was done, we won't have to raise the rates because we're kind of evening out right now, getting things straightened out. Not saying that it won't ever happen throughout the year. It's all based off of usage and, if people drop off or come on, that kind of thing. We could reduce them if we get a large user. But as of right now, based on current billings for the last quarter, even though there's an increase in both of these budgets, the rates will not increase right off. So water budget, really the only new thing, well, if you look at the top two lines, let's look at those between FY16 and FY17. See the flip-flop of numbers between user fees bond only and user fee total system? The software that we use does not break that out for us. The two numbers added together equal. It's just the allocation was not correct last year. The bond should only raise enough to cover the bond payment, and that was not the way that.
And is that what is
Yeah.
the bond payment?
It's 79. It's around 80, 79. Yeah. The only thing new is I added a line under maintenance that says contract engineer. This is to hire somebody in the next year to go through all of that data collection that was done, reviewing all the accounts to see if they can help us make some sense of it. So 5,000 of it.
For the purpose of figuring out appropriate fee structure,
Yep.
is that correct?
Yep, new fee structures, just to, yeah. So I was given a number of $10,000 is a good estimate to put in, so I put 5,000 in water and 5,000 in sewer. I don't know how else to break it up.
Sounds pretty logical.
Yeah. Both of the budgets have depreciation expense in them. The sewer, I kept at 25,000. The water I dropped down to 15 because we are doing pretty well in the water department, and by dropping it a little bit from 20 to 15, it helped make sure that rate stays the same until we can get through this process with the engineer.
You know, out of curiosity, does the loss of the laundromat, does that affect
Well,
greatly the usage?
it could. Well, yeah, it will, because we won't have the meter.
How many
water.
ERUs would that thing?
What are they, 5? Is that what we said? I mean, the water has been metered.
Right.
Somewhere in that area.
Yeah. So, that part of it obviously we won't be able to bill for.
Right.
I talked to them the other day. They can ask for a decrease in their allocation because the building's gone, but if they do that, they're going to lose their ability to have that in the future. And I don't know what the plans are, if there's going to be commercial development there or not. So I would think probably for a while.
But he could revert to bond only, couldn't he, or not?
What are
Well, because he's using no water,
It's going to be,
it is bond only.
yeah,
But
Oh, I see,
that
yeah.
bond is based on how many ERUs he's allocated.
Right.
So
which is 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
For that whole building, it was 5.
Mhm.
Huh. And that was metered or not? Sorry, I think you said.
Yeah.
It was.
it
Wasn't
was
it?
metered.
Yeah.
Something makes me think it was like 7.5.
Oh, maybe.
I don't
Okay.
know.
think,
It was
because
So was
the-
something-
5 across the street? Is that what I'm thinking of? I don't know where I got 5 from. I had 5 in my. I thought
don't know.
Denise told me
More.
5 when she called me.
You
Could
think the
be.
laundry
I
would
don't-
use quite a bit, but I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, it
That's
could
the-
be one
and
of
there were
those that
several
wasn't
apartments.
quite.
It might not
Right.
have had
Yeah,
the correct
Yeah.
wastewater permit.
So yeah, it will
Okay.
affect it a little. I mean, like I said, our water operation is doing pretty well as
Yeah.
far as staying in budget.
so neither of these include a contribution towards a capital fund. Is that correct?
Not a direct contribution, but the depreciation expense helps us build the surplus.
Okay, so,
That's what that's intended to do. Because we're not actually spending money on the depreciation,
Depreciation,
but
right.
our rate is built around
including that.
including that, yeah. We still, back in FY15, we had budgeted in the water fund 10,000 for a meter reader and software. We'll be working on that now that we have the new computer systems. But, so that money's still just in there, waiting for us to spend it.
I'll make a motion that we approve the water fund budget for 2016-17 as presented.
Second that.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now, I kind of went over the sewer fund at the same time.
Yeah.
The only thing really that changed was the 5,000 for the engineer. I did up the maintenance a little bit. Maintenance, testing, and repairs, contracted services, we're trying to break those out. Prior to us breaking them out, it was all being put under maintenance. And we were running over budget in that every year, so that's why that's broken out now. I think that's pretty much the only changes. Like I said, the rate, based on our most recent billings, the rate should stay the same even with this increase.
I'll make a motion that we approve the FY 16-17 sewer budget as presented.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, I don't know why this won't print like mine. The other copier shrinks everything. Capital fund, or capital plan, I mean. This is exactly the same as it was when we talked about it the last time. It's including $50,000 for a new dump truck, the $13,000 for a new truck for the fire chief to use, and the rest of it is just debt payment for this upcoming year. We've shifted some other things in order to do that dump truck this year, which is all stuff we've talked about.
Yeah, so those, yeah.
The
Then
highlighted, yeah.
So the 100,000, so I guess that's another thing that we should be very clear about with people at town meeting, is that we are already making those contributions so that we're not giving the impression that the amount we're gonna spend on a dump truck is
It's only
100,000.
Right.
And that, same with the
Yep.
fire chief truck.
Yeah. And then this 63,000 translates over, well, 50,000 translates over into the highway budget under capital expenses, and the 13,000 translates over to the general fund budget under capital expenses. So if you look at that section, you'll see those numbers, and I can show you where those are in the
Sorry,
budget.
say that again?
The 50,000,
Yeah,
which is a down payment, whatever we
right,
call it.
right,
If you look at the highway fund under capital expenses,
Oh,
direct
okay.
capital, it'll say 50.
yeah.
And same with the general fund, under direct capital expenses, it'll say the 13. Did he leave?
Scared him right off, didn't we?
Yeah.
It was,
Drone guy.
yeah,
Mark,
I want to say Richard, but it's not Richard, it's Richard's brother.
You said that last time.
I know.
Look at that.
Anyway,
Oh, okay. So we've always had you either approve or not approve. We don't vote on this at town meeting, but you guys approve it to put it into the report.
so moved.
Second that.
all in favor?
Aye. Now we're moving right along, so yeah.
Laura will be glad to get some reports that she can put in the town report, huh, Laura?
Oh, yeah.
General fund and highway budget.
So, here, let's do general fund first. I don't think anything has really changed in this since the last time I gave a copy. The main question that I have for tonight,
Yep,
what, you all set?
yep. Pay no attention. Sorry.
Is I have not put into this budget any surplus money from last year to offset taxes. Our surplus this year that could be used is $91,000, $91,800. I don't know if you want to pass that down. That's the breakdown of the surplus.
And what's our total increase this year?
I think it's also on here. So here's the surplus numbers. The first page of, so far the total overall increase of our expenditures is 3%.
Increase of expenditures,
Mhm.
and does that
How does that translate to?
directly to a 3% increase in?
Basically, based on our tax rate, our brand list from last year,
Mhm.
that equates about a 4-cent increase.
4 cents over what, 50, what were we last year?
Last year our rate was 0.63. The estimated rate this year, and this will be both general fund and highway because I'm still trying to do the two together.
So it's roughly a 3% increase, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So we could use surplus money to help. And this is something I don't want a decision tonight because I still am waiting for a couple numbers on the highway budget as far as that culvert project on Hickory Ridge. I'm waiting for the cost estimates from the engineer to see how much more over what we got for grant funding that we're going to need.
So we can't approve a highway budget tonight?
No,
Right,
no,
okay.
we'll have to do it. I'm hoping next week we can do it. So here's the highway. Oh, I didn't grab one.
So let's see, we have
Josh needs one.
we have essentially amount to be raised is roughly 1.6. So, is that me?
This, right now, yeah.
1.6 total, so offsetting that by
I mean, I know every 22,000 that we don't have to, whereas it is
represents
a
a
penny.
penny.
Yeah, that was the last calculation I did, so.
So if we put 44 in, it would cut our rate in half, our increase in half.
Right. So I don't know if, it's just something to think about for next week and we'll have to make that decision next week. But I think until we know what that number is in the highway, because if we have to come up with another 50,000
Then
for
we don't
that.
want to already allocate it to this.
Yeah,
Right.
so, this is all of the data that I have right now for both of those budgets, so that's why I wanted to give them to you tonight. And then really have a discussion. Next week's meeting will probably be just these two things and nothing else. That way we can just dig into it and make sure that we've seen everything, but, and I think what I'll do for town meeting is I'll make a one-page thing similar with some of this information, just talking about the two budgets. Like, this is what I did to help me understand it, was this was our FY16 budget, this is FY17 with both of them added together.
Both highway.
Both
Yeah.
highway and town.
Yeah.
So between the two right now, the general fund is up almost 3, the highway is up a little over 1. So,
It averages out to
yeah,
about
the average is out to 2.25. Okay, does that?
thereby representing that
Yeah.
4-cent increase, right?
Yeah. The other thing that I did not put in the general fund budget that we've had the last few years is an amount to transfer to the capital reserve fund. And I don't think that we should this year. We have 109,000, I think, in capital reserve, which we have no plan for right now. We could decide next week that we want to take some of that surplus and move it over there
Okay.
instead of
Yeah.
offset taxes just to build that.
Or-
So there's a
or
few
little
things
bit
we
to
could
each
do,
or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
So those are some things to think about in the next few days. And if you have questions about it before our next meeting, if you just want to stop and we can kind of talk about it so that we can, if we decide to move some surplus into the capital reserve, that should be an article on the warning for the town to vote that it's okay to do that with the surplus. I think the question would be, my question would be, as somebody in, okay, so we're gonna move it to capital, but then what?
Right, what's our
yeah,
plan
what
for
is
that?
the
Right,
plan
what's
for
our
that?
plan?
Yeah.
And you already have 100.
And is that, is our plan could be, we're trying to build it to maybe reduce some borrowing in the next couple years. I don't know what that
Right,
looks like.
we just want to be able to address that question.
Putting everything off when interest rates go up.
Yeah.
It started, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so we're not gonna do,
so we're not going to do either of those, no?
no, I think we'll save that for Wednesday night and only have a discussion about those and hopefully have that,
Yeah.
Bring these back?
bring them back.
Yes.
Okay.
It's homework.
Sure. Homework.
What else have we got? Town manager report?
The only thing that I have really is, I was wondering if there was one of you that would be available January 27th, which is a Wednesday, 2 weeks from now, at 12 o'clock to go meet with me, Peter Eden at Landmark, John McLaren, Nancy Olson from the tax exempt committee is going to go. We can't bring two of you because then that is a quorum. But just to discuss with them what we've learned during the process of the collection of information on the tax exempt committee. They are not asking for an exemption on any of the properties that they've purchased this year, but really want to understand what we've learned and in anticipation of probably next year's town meeting. So just kind of a sit down, get together. So, and that's at 12 o'clock on the 27th. If no one can go, then Nancy and I will go. It's not, I mean, her and I have been working together, so.
Do we, 12 o'clock on the 27th, I guess, I feel like I would probably, if I were gonna be present at that, I would love to be updated as to what we have learned.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering if there were additional things from when they were here. Because I know they had a couple big questions still. I mean,
Yeah.
well, it seemed like we've gathered this information, but
Yeah.
where do we go now? Type of thing.
There is some stuff that we have learned from the attorney. He has advised us at this point that if we discuss it, that we should do it in an executive session because it could eventually end up in not to make it sound really like, ooh, it's a big deal and we're going to end up in a lawsuit,
Right, but it's-
there's potential litigation down the road if the town votes to not
To do
exempt somebody.
Right.
So we can go into executive session tonight, or we can do it at the next meeting
And invite Nancy perhaps.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, she really,
That would be,
Yeah,
that would
I
be
think it
my
would be-
preference
okay,
if we
yep.
can do that, if that's all right.
Yep.
so we can do that and then I can let them know. I'll let them know that this is a good date, and then if one of you can make it, if you can't, that's fine.
I would assume I can
Okay.
if you can't,
Okay.
or you can't, or,
One of you will be able to.
yeah.
Sounds
I
like.
think so, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know
All right.
what my schedule is.
So I will let them know to schedule it. And plus it'll give us a good chance to just sit down. I haven't sat down with them for quite a while. So. That's all I have for town manager.
All right, I guess financial report's kind of moot right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Warrants. And, is there any other business?
I don't have any other business. I don't know if he left. Do you think he left? I'm gonna go check.
Sounded like you did.
Okay. These guys get paid every couple days, huh?
No,
Yeah, I don't see him. I was actually, when he came in, it reminded me that I read an article, I think it was in Kentucky, about a father that shot a drone out of yeah. And he was arrested, but he ended up, the judge ended up dismissing the case. I can't remember all of the specifics, but it was hovering over his daughter was outside.
This is right with me.
Yes.
It's gonna happen more and more.
Okay.
I did call the league about it, and I think they were trying to do some research on their end. because I haven't heard from them. They're usually pretty good about getting back to me.
I mean, they should, yeah, I mean, they should, I mean, just even over the Christmas break, you know, some of the kids got these helicopters and these other things, and
Yeah.
it was. Can I make an advertisement on here?
As long as it's not self-promotion.
Yeah, I've got a new painting service, no. But the,
Steve, say that.
A talent.
no, the, due to a couple people leaving the Energy Committee in the last month or so, the Energy Committee is wanting to have more people.
Did we have people resign?
Yeah, a couple, I don't know if they officially resigned, but there's a couple who I think they're just too busy.
Oh,
or
we haven't
whatever.
had official
So-
resignations,
Well, yeah,
so I didn't know there was people that were leaving the Energy Committee.
I know they haven't been able to hold a meeting in the
Yeah.
last 2 months, but they
Right.
didn't know why.
but
If you
they,
talk to them, they should actually resign.
Submit a resume.
Yeah,
Right.
it just
okay.
can be
I'll-
an email.
yeah, I ran
Just can
into
be an
Elizabeth
email.
today and,
Yeah.
yeah,
Email that just says I
Yeah.
can no longer serve or something, nothing fancy.
right, but I think they had some momentum going and they want more people to really keep that momentum going.
Yeah.
And as they always say, the more people that are on it, the easier it is. The less work for everyone. So that's the advertisement.
That was certainly not self-promoting, that was town business. We do need a quick executive session to talk about the town report dedication.
Mhm.
So whether that's legit under executive session or not, we're going to
Make it secret anyway.
make it secret anyways.
And there will be,
I don't think anybody,
Okay.
You will not be announcing it until.
No.
correct.
right, it'll be announced March 1st, or whenever the reports come out.
So are you going to make a?
Motion to enter executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.